we live? Yeah.
Hey, Gideon, how are you?
Good, Stephen. How are you?
Good. Welcome back. It's been a week since our last show.
I think this has been like the worst week, actually.
It's been the worst such a long time. But let's get to that in a couple minutes.
Yes.
We know that it's been a crazy week. We could have had guests on this week if we wanted to. As probably the same as you, we talked about it. We didn't feel like it was really a great idea to bring people on this week. It just felt sort of inappropriate. Yeah. It felt that maybe people needed time for themselves, time to do their own thing, time to get their own thoughts together, their own feelings. How about you? Let's start with you. We both have an opinion on this. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
So why don't we share with our audience how we feel? With our recent events, recent tragedies, I should say, not even events, tragedies.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a controversial opinion either to think that it's the brutality that we witnessed is horrible, and we want to see everyone involved prosecuted, to the fullest extent, and that we support the message behind the protests, and we support the peaceful protests. And I personally donated to the Floyd family today. His brother spoke beautifully, a message of peace and justice, and I was very moved by that, to tell you the truth. And I'm proud of them. He's amazing, very gracious, and I think we can all learn from that. Those are my feelings on that.
Yeah, I've taken a few days myself to sit around and think about this, because it's something that we don't think about enough. We don't focus on enough, and it's something that we should focus on ingrained in our everyday lives. And I'll tell you why I don't think about it. I don't think about it because I'm not a racist person. I'm not someone that lives my life in hate for other people. I have friends in all ethnicities all over the world, and some of them are the greatest people I've ever met in my life. And I never think about it because I'm not that way, and that's wrong. That's wrong of me. I feel I should be thinking more of it, because I think that people that are not racist take it for advantage that they're not, and they need to spend their time calling out those, especially that are, and call out the hate in the world. I've been thinking about it in everything I've been doing in the past couple of days. Like, I'll go outside in my building. I love to smoke a cigar on a beautiful day, right? If it's beautiful, if it's warm, whether it's afternoon, night, whenever, I love to go out there and smoke. And I was out there 2 days ago, and I was smoking, and I was like, you know what? I have that freedom. I have been able to come down my elevator, go outside at any point in the day and smoke, and not have to worry about being bothered by anyone in general. Like, what are you doing here? Why are you here? What is that in your hand? I've never had to worry about that. The only time I've ever had to worry about that is if a fan of mine comes by and says, you shouldn't be smoking, you're a singer. But that's the most I have to worry about when doing that. And a African American person on a regular basis has to worry about that in their daily life. They have to worry about, shopping in the wrong store, shopping in the wrong neighborhood. And there is no wrong neighborhood. There is no wrong store. But to really racist people, there is to them. And, it's a hard thing, because you know what? I see a lot of posts of people really sticking up for Black rights now. And you know what? And I agree with it 100%. But at the same time, it should have been done way earlier than this, not because of this terrible tragedy that happened with George Floyd. It should have been happening every day in everything that we do. And it's really a shame that it took a tragedy like George Floyd to wake up the world. And I hope it does make a change, And I honestly think, like, we have to hold everyone accountable. We have to hold all of our leaders, all of them, accountable, because what they don't realize is that when you run for office, public office, using race as a platform to get elected, That's racist. You know, when Donald Trump stands up and says MAGA loves black people, that's fucking racist. When Joe Biden says you're not, that's fucking racist. No. And that's something that we need to hold all of these people accountable for. And I like seeing people up there, leaders agreeing with the movement, but I really just want them to say, I'm sorry, I didn't do enough. I should have done more. That's what they have to say. Not just, I support this movement. They all need to apologize. Every one of them that ran a platform of, I'm going to help the black community. I'm going to help minorities. I'm going to help all different ethnicities. And they didn't. They should all be apologizing because at one point in their careers, they all ran off that platform.
Do you know the county where George Floyd was murdered has had the same local government since 1981? There hasn't been turnover. It's like, what is, it's like, what are you guys doing, man? What are you doing? And that's where the change really is. And even Obama gave a great statement today where he talks about the real emphasis is there in the local level, in the local and the state level, with the prosecutors, with the cops, with the sheriffs, with the DA. That's where the real change has to start. And that's where it's most effective, not so much at the national level.
You know, it's funny. Rudy Giuliani, who a lot of people are not fans of, he said an interesting thing the other day. He's like, you know what? The governors and the mayors of these cities need to do a better job policing themselves, meaning that they need to teach police how to police. Look, my brother's a cop in Florida, right? He's one of the best people I know, really straight up guy, would never hurt a fly, and the least racist bone in his body. He's one person, though, you know? Yeah. He's one person. And the only reason he's that way is because he was brought up that way in our household. He was taught that way. He was taught to respect everybody, to respect the rights of others, to give everybody equal respect. He was taught that. You know, not everyone is taught that. So they have to realize that if you're going to have a force like the police, who I like I said, my brother is a police officer, and I support most of them. You have to teach them, right? Like even in school, when you go into school, whether you're taught things at home, you're retaught them again. Yeah. When you take a job, you need to be retaught. You need to be retaught standards and law and code and what is right and civil rights. You need to be retaught that once you start that job, because you know what? You can't assume that people know, because people don't. And they should all know better, but you can't assume that they do. When you assume, you take a big chance, and look what's happened to our country.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted us to address it. I know that there's a lot. We usually have fun and have a lot of goofy things that we like to talk about, and with some serious things. But I didn't want anyone to think that we're not cognizant of what's happening and not caring of what's happening. It's the opposite. We care very much, but we also wanted to provide some little bit of an outlet in a different way.
And I understand people are mad, and they have every right to be mad. And but I think looting is wrong, and I think that people that are doing the right protests are not the looters, but there are those that are looters. And you just have to remember, it's like the people. Philadelphia is my hometown, that just got hit terribly hard with looting and violence. And a lot of those people who owns a lot of those stores that were hit in certain communities that I know. Yeah. Are ones that support their community and support everyone in their community. Yeah. So, you're just hurting the people that are helping you sometimes. And, focus on those that are not. And it's all of our leaders on both sides of the boards, right, left. They all need to be held accountable for not doing enough to get us to this place, because they all had the power at one point, but they wanted popularity, or they wanted votes, or they wanted something, and they would use it, but they didn't follow through. Make them follow through now.
Make them follow through. I like that a lot. Shall we move on to the show, so to speak, after our warm message of peace? So we always start this way. So let us continue. What do we have on the docket today?
I'm having a Corona.
Oh, is that
random
topical or what?
Corona during the coronavirus. I don't know. I just feel like it's my summer go-to. It just feels like, when you're locked indoors, as long as there's sun outside, you feel sort of summery.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know. It's been a long week, Gideon. This is going to be a hard show.
I know. Hopefully not, but I'm just back to my usual.
What are you having?
So they only had half bottles. This is Buffalo Trace, one of the oldest distilleries in the country. One of my very, very favorites. Thank you for finally asking, so I can open this now because I wanted to show it sealed. And I've been wanting to open this for a while now. Alcohol sales up 300%. By the way, I wonder why.
Really?
I can't imagine why alcohol sales.
Well, I can tell you in New York, at one point they were the only things that were open. Besides like hospitals and supermarkets.
That's true too. I love it. Okay, I'm pouring. And we have some new equipment. I wonder if people are noticing we're a real show now.
Yeah, this doesn't do shit. It's just for the effect.
Oh, you think? It's just for the look. It's actually like plastic. You can just knock it right over.
Yeah, right. As an opera singer that doesn't use microphones often, I seem to like.
I know it's so weird.
I think I have to get really close to talk to it because or it's not going to be picked up.
I hate microphones. You treat it like how like you see in old movies how like old people are on telephones. Where they think they have to, overcome the distance with sheer lung power. Hello? All right, good. So we moved on from that. So I'm still waiting the results for my antibody test.
Oh,
I'm still waiting. I'm excited.
I haven't.
And I wanted to tell you a quick story about that.
Please.
I walk in and I get into the room. They, come this way. The nurse has a mask. And she looks at me and she comes at me with this it looked like a fucking Star Trek phaser or something, right? And it had this like blue light at the end, and she's like coming at me, and I was like, "What?" I was like nervous. This little nurse couldn't be more than like 5'2" on a really good day in heels, probably. She's coming at me, and then she's like, and she quickly goes, "Meow." It was the forehead thermometer, but she didn't even say anything. Yes, but she's coming at me with this I'm like, what is happening? Anyway, it was 96.8. That was very normal. Spoiler.
Oh, nice. Where did you go?
I went to my local doctor, who, by the way, has thoughts about another story that broke today that we're about to get into.
Oh, great. I've been trying to do the coronavirus antibody testing, but the only place around here, our doctor is in Midtown, and to get them to be open, it's just been on a good day, even before coronavirus, to have them open was difficult. But so we keep trying to go to the City MD, which is not too far from us, not too far from you, and we every time we go, there's a line. I mean, a line around the block, and you have to wait, and so you could be there all day. So we haven't done it yet. And so I want to do it, but it's only 50%. From what I understand.
Well, okay. So I talked to him about that. And he actually said it's pretty accurate. The problem is, he says it's very accurate, but the problem is that when you have a small sample size, so even though each one individually is upwards of 90%, right? If you're in an area and you get like 3 false positives but out of 3 tests, that's a problem. Then people will think, there's nothing going on, right? So he said in New York, it's not a big deal because you have, how many millions of people, 20% of the population has been exposed. If they're off by 5 to 10% of the people taking the test, it's not a big deal because people know to be careful anyway because of how many cases there are. So he says that it's actually very accurate, but that the problem is when you have a small sample size. He's like, New York's not the problem, LA's not the problem. And he used the example like Oklahoma is going to be an issue with the accuracy of the test. So it's not so much that it's only 50% effective. It's individually is 90% effective. It's also, he told me, attuned to favor negatives. So people are on the safe side. He also told me that too. It's really interesting. You don't get that stuff from those CNN stories, when they talk about it.
You don't get that from any of that.
Right.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody about this the other day. It was a cousin of mine. And I was like, the media now is just going off the wall, right? They seem to only bring you the scariest of stories. Why? because with social media and with the internet,
You get clicks.
you have so many different outlets of news now. So they have
That's true, too.
they have to stand out above everybody
You know?
else. So they're only going to give you the things that are going to get you to tune in at night to watch it. And
Well,
they want-
that's why
they want
local
ratings.
news is suffering so bad.
Yeah, everything's suffering. They want ratings. It's been suffering since the start of the internet and being able to do things on your own. And then when the blogger came in, and you had more news outlets now.
Yeah. I think we should move on to the story that is most relevant to us for the day. I do not want Stephen to have a violent protest of his own as I tell everyone the horrible breaking news. Of course, nothing compared to loss of life, etc., but still very bad news. The Metropolitan Opera has canceled its fall performances. Stephen, how many shows did you have this fall?
Well, I have 3 productions at the Met this next season, and one was canceled so far. Yeah, in the whole season. So I was supposed to do Roberto Devereaux in September, which obviously was just canceled. And I'm scheduled to do Romeo and HD of Romeo and Traviata in the February months. It's interesting, you know. It's a weird time for everybody, and you know, as a singer, I kind of think that besides the financial blow, I mean, it's a huge financial blow for companies to be canceling months and months and months of work. I mean, it's almost a year, right? So if we canceled in March and everything's starting to open, I guess now January, it's almost a year of work, man. So a year of contracted work that you had, which you no longer have contracts for. So it's a tough pill to swallow. It's a tough pill to swallow for everyone. And we don't know. I don't know if you've heard anything, but you know, for all of our artists out there, the pandemic insurance is supposed to expire at the end of July, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. Hopefully, we'll see what happens with that. They didn't. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. It's. I was clued into this earlier this week in a conference call with my manager. He had the whole roster on. I was clued into that this may happen. It was all sort of confidential and somewhat speculative at the time. Yeah. So I, of course, didn't say anything. But now that we know, you know, it's out. It's and after when I was talking to my doctor after this conference call, he actually was rather disappointed with the call. He felt that and he is a pretty conservative, careful guy, and he felt that it was rather too soon to make such a call. I mean, who knows what the kind of logistics that you need to shut down such an operation at the Met. I know that technical rehearsals start, you know, sooner. I know that all these things happen. He felt that it was too soon to make such a call, and he's a big fan of the arts, and he's a big fan of Broadway and opera, and understands the risks very well. He's here on the Upper West Side. He's not some radical. And he was pretty disappointed to hear that happened, and disappointed not so much from his own because he can't go, but disappointed because he felt it was a little rash.
Well, you know,
that was his professional opinion.
You know, look, I'm being involved. I don't know what the right answer is, and that's the problem with the coronavirus. We don't know what the right answer is for anything, mostly because we're getting fed information, and then the next day we're told that's not the right information, and then and they contradict that information, and it just goes on and on and on. I'll tell you what, though, the European theaters are starting to open. They're starting to find a way to open.
Yes.
How that is, it's all still.
I can tell you a little bit about that.
I can tell you too, but we don't know if it's going to work. That's the thing,
right?
So it's all. It's going to be trial and error, I think, for the next a couple weeks or a couple months when they do it.
Right.
But you know, we don't know what's going to happen with the virus. We don't know if they could have a vaccine. We don't know if they could have more information that says that there won't be a second wave, even though they say there may be. We still don't know any of that. And I'll tell you the one thing that we all hold on to as artists, we all hold on to the hope that something will happen. Okay. Yeah. So when you cancel things, again, I'm not saying they made the right decision or the bad,
right. We don't know.
Decision. I don't know. I'm not there. I don't make the decisions. I'm just on the receiving end of the info. You just take away hope. You take away hope from people that are sitting home with nothing to do, with no work, no income, and they're looking forward to that next thing. And when you take away hope so far in advance, it does something to your mind, and it does something to your ambition. And that's going to be, I think, the hardest thing that artists are going to have to hold on to for the next 7 months now, right?
Stephen, on our roster, we literally have a cancellation for May of 2021. That far out,
but that's different. That's bad.
Which is bizarre. But it wasn't the financial. They just that's what they decided to do. A whole year in advance.
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with.
No, of course not. You know what I mean? Of course not. We heard stories of rehearsals where one colleague of mine says that they have extensions on their swords, so that when they do their sword fight, they're further apart. So they're almost like fighting with fucking brooms, so that they can have their sword fight rehearsal from across the room from each other.
We touched on this early. We touched on this 2 weeks ago, 2 shows ago. We don't know the facts. We don't know the facts about the coronavirus and how it's spread. Okay, right. CDC tells us you can get it by touching objects, like just touching surfaces. You can get it. Then they tell us you can't. But then
they went back, and then you can't. Right.
Correct. And then you could again, and then you couldn't again. So we don't know that. They tell us that particles are in the air, and then they tell us that we don't know how many it actually takes to infect you to get the virus. It's we don't know. That's the problem. I feel like if we had more concrete answers, we could have more concrete answers in when we're going back to work and what we're doing.
Look, the World Health Organization website still is saying that we don't need to wear a mask unless we think we're symptomatic or something like
Correct.
that. And how do you? They still say that, the World Health Organization website.
Yeah, you don't need to wear a mask unless you're symptomatic, but most people are asymptomatic. So where does that leave you?
A lot of people are. Yeah. Actually, that's funny. We should. I don't know if I highlighted that story, but they just came back with the antibody test at random from Indiana. 4,900 people or something. They just randomly ran the samples. They found that 3% of the population was exposed, right? 3% of the population was exposed, which was 11 times more than they anticipated, but that 45% of those people reported having no symptoms. So half of the people of the 3% said that they didn't have any symptoms. So, I mean, this is just it's just bizarre. And I really wonder when the book is finally written, what we're really going to know, if any more than we know right now.
I don't know, man. It's going to be a wild ride, I think, for the next couple of months. Yeah. Until we actually get to the bottom of this.
So one of the big stories that started off the shit week was Central Park Karen. And the reason I want to bring this up is because, do you know this woman, Steve?
Oh, I know of the woman, but you have a close
relationship. Do you know her?
I don't know her.
I do actually have had conversations with this woman. She lives within proximity of me. When I first saw the story late Monday night, I read the transcript of the entire exchange, and I was like, oh my God, what a horrible person. I read the exchange. Then I looked at that picture and I said, wait a minute. And then I saw the dog. I said, no. And then I saw the dog's name. I said, shit, this is this woman who me and Jess have referred to as the crazy woman, who we try to avoid. And she is nuts. And the fact that she kind of ran into a problem with sort of like a social deficiency, I can say at the nicest way to say it, was not a surprise to me. Barbaric racism was a surprise to me. The only thing that I'll say, I'm completely open to the idea of having my interactions with her. Well, actually, no, separate. I'm completely open to the idea and that the story is exactly like we think it is, that she's excitable, nuts, privileged, racist, and tried to have the cops come to hopefully, in her view, take care of this, situation. The only thing I'll say is that because I know how weird and how nuts she is the type of person to be really sort of descriptive about what she sees. And it wouldn't surprise me if what we saw was more of her psychosis, less so. And that what really gave it away to me was the dog. She is obsessed with this dog. She loves this dog. In fact, she gives this really annoying voice when she sees it. Oh, I love you so much. You know how like we say that, like, oh, you're so cute, little puppy. We say it for like 2 seconds. She has full on like 10-minute conversations in the middle of the sidewalk. Oh, I know you're this. I love you. And it's kind of erratic and disturbing. And I walked into a local establishment, and the owner there, who knows me, he looked at me like, you know what happened in the news? I said, I know. And he said, man, we all knew that this woman is just a little nuts.
Yeah, I don't know. So, look, she had a pretty good job, so I'm sure she knew better.
No, she did. She might be some sort of, I don't know. I don't want to speculate about the disorder, but there's something, you know. Yeah, she did have an amazing job, and from what I understand from my friends in finance, it was a particularly good job.
Look,
so she must have some kind of and no, of course, Aditi, there's no excuse for the racism. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. I'm suggesting that there's something going on in addition to that.
Look,
no, absolutely no excuse for that.
Here's my take. The woman is an asshole. The woman should be charged with a hate crime.
Something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
You can say all you want, but the tone of the guy's voice just seemed like a saint at that point in the video.
Yeah.
He just seemed like he handled the situation so well. He wasn't provoking anything, and he wasn't even one of these guys that's going to keep inciting her to do more. She was doing it on her own. She was blatantly lying to police on the phone that a large black male was
she didn't even say large. She like the only thing of note was that he was African American. That was the only thing of note that she felt. She felt
endangering her life. And so here's what she did. In that one conversation, this is what she did. Ready? She not only put this poor guy's life in danger, because as a police officer, even a not racist police officer is going to come to that situation thinking that this woman's life is in danger. And what's he going to think?
In a secluded area of the park.
He's going to think the guy has a weapon. He's going to think that the guy is really up against her and on her. So what are they going to do? They're going to come rushing into the park, not knowing the situation that they're coming into, right? And then she put a target on him by labeling him as a black male. Okay, you know what? That right there. That's the thing. If I feel threatened by someone, I'm going to say there's a man or a woman in front of me threatening me. If I felt threatened, but you know what? She went black male. She specifically said black male.
She did, and that's why I believe that.
And then what else did she do? She put the lives of people in that community in danger, because those cops now have to respond to a ridiculous call to Central Park to diffuse this situation. That wasn't a situation, and so someone else could have been. God knows what could have happened somewhere else where they didn't have the police force or the police manpower to take care of that situation. The woman's an asshole. She deserves everything that she gets. She's abusing a system that is designed to be abused.
And abusing a dog. No,
look,
did you see that part? That's bad. I mean, I didn't say it was worse. That's bad too.
Yeah. Well,
and it was taken away from her.
Yeah, but you know. But here's the thing. Look. I'm a dog lover. I'm a dog fan. I have a dog. You've met our Pebbles. My wife are dogs.
Yes, we love them.
When you see, that's the least thing that we thought about the dog, because you know what? Because if she's that type of person, of course she's going to abuse her dog. Come on. If she's that type of person that has that much hate in her life, she's going to abuse other things.
But that's what made me wonder if like there was some, and it's not an excuse, but that she was suffering from some psychotic break, or very possible, she's horrible to that dog when she's not in front of people. You know what I mean? That and that I've only seen her be annoying and super sweet. You know, whatever. I saw her and she looked like hell. I hope everyone learns a lesson from it, so something good can come of it.
Look, I don't think it's because she's privileged. I think it's because she's just an asshole. She's just
Yes.
just a
Yes.
low life asshole that,
Yes.
that
Yes.
deserves everything that she gets. I mean, let's be honest. Call it what it is.
Yes. Do you want to stick with COVID, or should we go to because we have a couple other stories related to it, and just get them all out of the way?
Yeah, let's go on with the stories, and then let's take some viewer questions.
Yeah, and keep the comments coming. We really enjoy it.
Keep the comments coming. We're gonna get to your comments. We're not going to ignore them, but we're going to answer them soon.
So my friend Zach here says panic disorder or reactive attachment disorder. Zach has a psychology background. I think he's 100% right. This was, and her exes have gone on record to say this is pretty typical of pattern of behavior. So thank you for that, Zach, for the professional.
Fuck her exes. Fuck her exes. They should have said something earlier.
They did. Well, I mean, we didn't know if that was going to happen.
That's the whole thing. That's the whole fucking thing that bothers me about all of this. And it's like it's the whole thing. It's just that everybody waits.
Well, they filed a restraining order. What do you want them to do?
No. That's not what I mean. I mean, like, but everybody in general waits. They wait until something happens to take action. We're all guilty of it. I'm guilty of it. It fucking sucks. And then when something happens, we all go to arms and we all take action. And you know what? It's never too late to make a change, but it's too late to affect the person's life that was in danger at that point. And we should all be better at taking action earlier on and to help prevent these situations in the future. That's what we can do. And you know what?
Okay.
We can protest as much as we should now, but the end of the day, when the protesting dies, we still have to continue on the journey. We can't just stop, and we can't just agree on Facebook because at that time everyone else is doing it. You have to do it all the time. You have to live with it.
It's the echo chamber. Yeah. So speaking of preventative measures, Stephen, Swiss sex workers have released coronavirus guidelines.
Ooh.
The sex industry has suffered very greatly because of social distancing. And do I have the pull quote here? Let me see here. Yes, I do have the pull quote here. Sorry, Mom. This is a funny story. And that is they released these guidelines. Both doggy style and reverse cowgirl allow for the woman to face away from her sexual partner, avoiding face-to-face contact. Stephen, are we pleased to see sex workers taking such great precautions with respect to COVID-19?
Well, I have this theory, Gideon. If you're going to a sex worker and you're worried about COVID-19, that's the least of your problems. I don't know. You know, it's kind of the. It's like when they had that whole study about does having sex transmit COVID-19, and it's like,
yes,
you need a fucking study for that. I mean, you can.
I remember the shock. Remember the shock when they found some in semen? It's like you can get it, like you said, from touching a table.
You can get every other disease known to man through sexual contact, and you're asking questions. Well, can you get COVID? It's like, of course you can fucking get COVID. It's like the story. It's like the story that came out in London today about supposedly about them banning sex outside of your household until after COVID. Have you read that one? I don't know.
No. What is this?
But supposedly there's a law that's banning sex outside your home during the COVID period. It's making it illegal at the moment. So you can take it. Yeah, go ahead. You can take it two ways though, right? You can say, well, does that mean that like they're legalizing incest? Because that's fucking sick, right? Like I don't get it. I don't.
Well, I'll tell you what. England has some of the weirdest regulations, right? So you can go visit with one person outside is what they allowed you to do in England, right? So people who want to see their parents, right, what they have to do is they go see mom while dad waits in the car, right? And then mom goes back to the car and then dad can come out and then you can meet him. But if you want, you can hire two people simultaneously to clean your house. So people are fucking hiring mom and dad to clean their house just so they can see their parents. Like, what sense does this shit make?
Yeah, I know. It's very strange, right? I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like COVID-19 has not only brought out the worst, it's brought out it's brought out the crazy as well, you know?
Yeah, well, certainly. Speaking of crazy, the writers of 2020 have outdone themselves as monkeys escape from an Indian lab with COVID-19 samples. Yes, like a shitty heist movie, monkeys grabbed the vials and got the fuck out of the lab. And they saw one in a tree chewing it.
Are we going to see that in one of the press conferences when we don't have a vaccine?
I understand that actually these little monkeys are actually a nuisance in this area of India. Like they kind of like how we like squirrels or rats here in New York and sort of get overridden. By the way, rats are cannibalizing each other. Big story. Thank you, COVID. Yeah, no, it's apparently these monkeys are a big nuisance, but they were testing them, and I guess the monkeys had enough of their shit, grabbed the vials, and got out of Dodge.
Wow. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Could you see that in a couple of months? Well, we had a COVID vaccine, but the monkeys had stolen it. So once they bring it back,
yeah. So So this will be, as far as I know, this will be our last COVID story. This is actually a more encouraging one. We like to have fun here. I like to call this story, "Has COVID blown its load?" Viral load, that is. And that is that one of the chief doctors in Italy has found that the viral load in the latest tests of COVID is, and I quote, infinitesimally smaller than it was 2 months ago, meaning that the virus, according to this chief doctor in Italy, is losing potency. As my father explained to it, who has a great science background, this is very common in viruses as they sort of lose potency as they keep on reproducing and keep finding new hosts. This is very encouraging. So hopefully by the time, we can get to, maybe, God willing, maybe we won't even need a vaccine or something. Maybe the virus will be so weak that, by then, hopefully, or it'll buy us more time.
Well, I feel like if the story didn't come from the CDC or the WHO, we're good luck. I mean, that seems like a keeper. It might happen.
Oh, you like it? Oh,
yeah,
good.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't know. Look, we don't. Yes. Again, we don't know. We don't know any actual facts about the virus except you can transmit it.
Right.
That's it. And that we see on TV, the cases and the deaths. That's all the actual facts we know about this virus. And
we hopefully,
I don't know. Hopefully it's seen its day, but we don't know.
Yeah. Hopefully it's seen its day. Right. Going back to the current situation that we're in, I kind of like this story. So lately in the news, I know I'm the big UFC guy. Lately in the news, John Jones has been who's by most journalists considered probably the greatest of all time as far as ability, though of course he's been mired in drug and steroid scandals. He's a tremendous fighter. He's been quoted as wanting half of what Deontay Wilder gets for fights, and he's been in an open feud with the boss Dana White. However, John Jones saw some people spray painting during these demonstrations in his native Rochester, New York. Anyway, John Jones went up to these guys. Now, keep in mind, he's probably about 6'3", 6'4", and he fights at 205, which means he probably walks around at 230. And he walked around to these guys and, he took their spray cans very quickly because he was not happy with people ruining his neighborhood. I love this story. I love Jones beating the shit out of two little punks trying to vandalize his hometown.
Look, good for him, man. That's what you need to do. I'm sorry. If you're out there making a peaceful protest to make a point and you see these thugs destroying your community, you need to stand up for it because you know what? You're only hurting the message, you can never fight violence with violence because what you do, you make you divide yourselves because you're not going to get agreement on that. That's the one thing that no one will ever agree with. Yes, people can agree that people are angry. But people will never agree that you can fight violence with violence. And so if you want to make your point across and you want to get everyone on the board and you want to change the thought process of someone, you have to find the common thread. And the common thread is peace. and that's what you want, because that's what you want. That's really what you want, to live in peace, right?
It's funny you say that.
What it's all about.
Yeah. It's funny you say that, because I actually made this banner to make this point. And it was a point that was made a while back during one of the Super Bowls. I don't remember if it was this year or the year before. Somebody's like, when you get together with the Super Bowl with your family who disagrees with you politically, you should engage with them. And there was an article from Ben Domenech, who's actually Meghan McCain's husband, who said, no, don't do that. He said, one of the problems is that because of like the on-demand nature of our world right now, the on-demand nature of our world, like, hey, did you watch the Netflix series? No, I haven't watched it. Okay, I'm going to binge it next week. Hey, did you do this? Did you that? Oh, on demand here, on demand there, my music on demand. When, it's a YouTube world, right? We don't have common experiences happening at the same time. Corona is actually one of those things, but I'd prefer, not to have a once in a lifetime pandemic be one of those things. But I remember growing up, I was 10 years old when The Simpsons first came out, and it was a Sunday night at 8:00, and we all watched. And the next day we came into school, it's like, holy shit, did you watch this show? Like, we never knew a cartoon could do this, up until this time, cartoons was doing that. And we don't have those experiences anymore that bring us together. One of the closest things that happened recently was Game of Thrones, actually, because HBO sort of insisted on that Sunday night. You don't get the whole season at once. Sunday night, what is it, 9 or 10 o'clock, whatever it happened, and people are live tweeting and people are doing all these things. There's an amazing, amazing video from a pub in Ireland where they would have a viewing party. This place is fucking packed. And during one of the more climactic moments of the series, you're watching everyone like this, like, oh shit, what's going to happen? And then it happens and everyone's cheering. And we don't have these experiences anymore because of the sort of, as for all the good that happens, we don't have those experiences because of the on-demand nature of the world that we live in.
Here's the thing. I have to say, I wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons when I was younger. My parents would not let me watch Simpsons. They thought it was too vulgar and too trashy. They would not, and I was like probably the only kid in class that could not watch The Simpsons. So it's like, I think that we need to find more values, though. I think that families need to enforce values, and you know what? This is the time to do it, because we're going to be home more. We're all home more. People are not going to school. People are not going to work. You're spending more time with your family now probably than you've ever had in your life. So it's time for families to teach each other what it's like to have values. And I'm not talking about values in finance or things like that. I'm talking about values in life, things that you need to use. And you're not going to get far in life being a prejudiced prick. That's one thing I know.
Wow.
Because
that's for sure too.
Here's the thing: like, I'm not a really religious, really overly religious person, but I do know that you are judged when you die, right? So it depends on where you're going to go, and what you do now is going to judge how you're going to live your life in eternity, right? So you want to be the best person that you can, and you want to be judged as you want to judge everybody as you're going to be judged on that day. So.
Oh, that's I need another drink after that one. Fuck, I should call I'm going to bring my rabbi into one of the next shows. Anyway, speaking of combat sports, one of your favorite guys and mine, the baddest man on the planet. Speaking of our childhood, here he is. Mike Tyson is back, or is he?
Mike Tyson to me is like. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Mike Tyson to me is like one of those guys where you remember where you were when he knocked out each one of those fighters. You know what I mean? It's like you know where you were when the Bulls won each one of those games in the playoffs. Right?
Oh, yeah, I was miserable and crying myself to sleep. Yes, so I remember very well.
You know exactly where you are when Mike Tyson knocked out all those guys. I mean, he was like, I mean, don't get me wrong. In his early life, he was an asshole, which he's accepted, and then made up for it later on. But he was one hell of a fucking fighter, was he not? When he wasn't like doing cheating moves.
He was one hell of a fighter. And let me tell you something. I don't know if you know much about, because I'm the combat sports guy here, right? I don't know if you know much about this bare knuckle fighting championship. Have you heard about this thing?
No, I think it's called Fight Club, right?
Don't talk about it. No, but I actually think that it's a real thing, and it sounds barbaric. It is, if you look at the faces of these people, but there's this weird kind of civility about it. And the reason that there is, according to people who get paid to get punched in the fucking face, so I really can't judge, that when you have the gloves on, when you have the padding, you're less discriminating about where you hit in someone's face. But when you're bare knuckled, you have to aim for the softer kind of areas of the face, because if I hit you in the side of the head, I'm gonna just break my fucking hand right away in the beginning of the match. Yeah. So there's this weird kind of code about this. Anyway, he was offered $20 million to do bare knuckle fighting. I never watched a bare knuckle fighting. Jess refuses to watch it. If it's just fists, I think he could be champion. I'm not kidding. I think he now at 50, whatever years old he is, I think he'd be champion. Now, I should also point out, as you know, I'm a huge professional wrestling fan. He made an appearance on TNT's All Elite Wrestling with the great Chris Jericho just last week, and he's starting fights with him too. So Mike Tyson is back. He ripped his shirt off.
He looks incredible. He
looks as ripped as he did when he was, you know, it's pretty amazing to see him.
If we had this conversation, we could have included my cousin Brian, because he runs the Jack Costello Boxing Club, which is named after
of course,
my grandfather. Yeah.
I love watching,
which is awesome, by the way. If you're in Philadelphia, you're looking for a place to get away, Jack Costello Boxing Club.
Make a plug for it.
It's a nonprofit. Yeah. It's their goal is to get kids off the streets into the gym, give them an extracurricular activity, give them some sort of discipline in their lives, give them a place to go. People that don't have places to go, and it's an incredible organization. They should look it out.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right, what
do we got? Do we have any questions?
Yeah. We
can answer it.
Yeah, we could do that. We could go. We have some more stories, but we could definitely take some questions.
Two more stories, then we'll take some questions.
Do a couple more stories. You want to do a couple more stories? These are sort of like short ones that we can do that I thought would be of interest. I actually would put this under. Hold on, wait. Let me do this correct. Do we give a shit? Do we give a shit? David Arquette back as Dewey in the Scream sequel.
Absolutely, we give a shit. He was the best part of Scream.
However, this is the first Scream without Wes Craven. So he passed away, of course. The great Wes Craven, right?
That's
okay. Yeah. So I think I give a shit too. Yeah, I think I do give a shit, actually. Okay, here's another one. PETA upset with Nintendo's Animal Crossing. Of course, this is the game. All right, forget it. I don't give a shit.
I'm sorry. Look. I'm not about harming animals. I love animals. You've been to our house. We have like a fucking zoo here.
Right.
So like it's
a video game. To be clear, this is a video game they're upset with.
Games are like Duck Hunt from back, like you remember the old Nintendo Duck Hunt.
Well, they would object to that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't know. I think
they have and.
I'm sorry.
They have a whole vegan guide to the game. They've provided a whole vegan guide. Amazing.
There's so many other things in the world that's going wrong with animals that PETA can focus on. Stay the fuck away from video games.
Yeah.
Stop wasting your donors' money.
Yes, absolutely. And so this is a story that's probably more specific to me than is to you, that the Major League Soccer is under threat of lockdown. They can't agree on how to open up the next season. And I'm going to say this, and it's not going to be good. I don't give a shit. And that's a problem for them. I'm so frustrated with this league. We have the best athletes in the world, in my opinion, and we are lagging behind the German league, which is already open, the English league, which is opening in 2 weeks, the Spanish league, which is opening in a couple weeks, and they can't get their shit together. This league is going to die if they don't get its shit together. And it's a problem because I think that soccer is a great sport, and I think that the Major League Soccer has made tremendous strides, and they're fucking themselves with this exchange, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. To be quite honest with you, I don't follow soccer.
Right, I know you're not a soccer fan. But I'm just saying that it's a problem to them that I'm starting to not give a shit because I do care about soccer. So they better wake up, is what I'm saying.
So Major League Soccer better watch out because Gideon W is coming for you. you heard it. You heard it.
No,
right
it's
here.
You know what though? You know what though? It's worse than I'm coming for them. It's that I don't care. It's like that's even worse.
You threw down the gloves. You're fucking coming for them. You have to. You said it. You said it. You have to live up to it now.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. You know what? You know what? Lisa said it because that woman's a beast. That singer's a beast. And if she's saying "watch out," I'm going to listen to Lisa. Let me tell you, good to see you, Lisa. I hope you're doing great. Tremendous mezzo. I'm a big fan. Okay, we have. Do we have any more stories here? Well, I'd love to hear questions from people.
Yeah, let's hear some questions.
The comment section's been wild today. I'm really excited about it. So we should do that. Here's a fun one, actually. This is a fun one. This is a conversation that I've had in my apartment that I'd like to welcome people into, right? And this is this story here, and that is that men and women misperceive what the opposite sex finds attractive. And Stephen, the bottom line is this. The bottom line of the study was this, is that women believe that men prefer a thinner woman than they believe, and men believe that women prefer a more jacked and ripped guy than we believe. What are your thoughts on that? The first part to me was completely unsurprising, by the way.
Well, my thoughts are this. My thoughts are, one, my wife constantly tells me how I don't know women. So that could be true, because if she says it, it's false. And she also tells me that I love you no matter what. You don't have to be skinny and ripped, but then says, are you going to the gym today? So I think they need to stop sending mixed messages.
Mixed messages and women. I never heard such a thing before. Right. This is like Shakespeare we're talking about here.
Right. But I don't know. As she said, I don't understand women. I don't. I have to say I don't.
It's always so funny to me that it's always so funny whenever these studies come out, all the men involved are like, yeah. And then all the women are like, yeah. So I'm like, what the fuck's the problem here? Where's the disconnect? If every man is like, yeah, and every woman's like, yeah, why is this not known? Why do they have to make a stupid study about this shit?
I'll tell you what, though. What attracts me is talent, by the way. Because my wife, not only is she gorgeous, but she's an incredible violinist, and that she is
tremendously talented.
And that really attracts me. I'm lucky. I've kind of got a good package, so I can't complain on this end. But again, I don't understand.
You don't understand.
I don't understand women. I still don't understand women.
Yeah, Kim says I figured out men don't all like skinny women. I think that's very true. That's very true. I thought that was a good story too. It's just sort of like a nondescript feel-good story, you know.
I don't know. I feel like what one has to like in a person has been determined by our social media morals. Like meaning that like social media dictates what everybody needs to their ideas of what they should be. And I think if people should just start thinking of themselves, we'd be in a better place.
I think you're 100% right. I think you're 100% right. And with respect to the future of our business, Stephen, do you think that in effect everyone's just waiting for a vaccine? Is that what's happening?
Look, you have to see our business is full of different demographics, right? So we have young people all the way.
A lot of old in the audience too, yeah.
People, and then we have old in the audience, and we have some young in the audience, and it's not so much, I think, the audience at that point, because you can find ways to socially distance the audience, right? Audience members can also.
Can you? But that was the big quote from Gelb today in the
that's what
New
they're
York
trying.
Times.
But that's what they're trying. And see, but here's the thing. Yeah. So with an audience, you can choose to go or not to go, right?
Right.
So they have that option, and then you can find ways to socially distance them. They can wear masks. They can wear gloves. I mean, if you look at some of these, like look at Japan and China when they're holding their summits right now, they're on. And you see them all like shoulder to shoulder, but they're all wearing masks, right? So obviously, if you're covered and you're taking the precautions, it's okay, to a point, right? But what I think the problem is mostly what's going on stage. So because
you think that's where the problem is, not in the audience?
Yeah, when you're as a singer on stage,
I think the audience is what the problem is.
No, I think
we can be more inventive.
I think it's
and we can have enough we could probably find enough tests or something to be able to secure, like we were talking on our conference call about no chorus. You know, there are plenty of operas that you can do that don't have a big chorus. There are plenty of things that you can do to mitigate against that. The problem is the people sitting close together for a long period of time.
But Gideon, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. Yeah. But what I think, when you're talking about like our older members of the chorus or our older members that are on stage, where's their option then? If you do the show that they're in, do they have to do it? Do they have the right to say no, they don't want to do it? And if they don't do it and we still do the show, are they losing pay because they chose not to do that show and then they can't collect unemployment or anything? It's like I said, COVID is one of those things that's never happened before, and no one knows how to handle it. And at the moment, everyone has handled it badly.
That's true. So that is certainly true. Do we have any other viewer questions as we look to wrap things up here? Do we have any other viewer questions? We're happy to take any and all. We decided not to have a guest today, as Steven said. With everything going on, we thought it would be a little callous, and next time there will be time for that.
As my dad said to everyone out there that wants to make a difference, they have to remember, vote in November. That's where you're going to make your mark. No. Don't stay at home,
and not just at the national level.
Everywhere. Vote. I mean, vote for every. I mean, even George Floyd's brother said it today. Go out there and vote. Make a difference. If you don't vote, you haven't really made that extra difference. You put the people in charge that you think will do what is right for you and your community, and that's a privilege. That is a privilege that everyone has and everybody can express.
So so this is a question for you. Is it safe to be around Lincoln Center for my students in the fall? Stephen, what do you think? We're right by Lincoln Center. In fact, the spoiler, not to reveal where we live, 5 blocks away from each other.
Well, now that
we're right by Lincoln Center.
Well, now that it's closed, it's a little safer for everybody, I guess, right? I don't know. I mean, nothing's open. So I don't know. I assume.
I mean, it seems to be that outdoors is the safest place to be. I mean, like we saw the whole. Remember? I don't know if you remember, Sonia. There was an election in Wisconsin where, in the middle of this, back in I think it was in April or something, right when we were in the height of this pandemic, and you had 500,000 people voting, and it was a big shameful kerfuffle about what had happened, that people couldn't figure out to make the election go by mail, but that's a different story. And you had all these people lined up. You had 500,000 people came out in even fewer voting booths than they've ever had before. And despite all of that, you had only a couple dozen new cases. And part of the things that people are attributing to is that it's because it was all mostly outdoors, that people, when they were waiting with each other, were mostly all outdoors. So I think that seems to be a safer place to be.
Well, I'll tell you what, all these closed concert halls, if they need space for people to vote, are going to be closed. So they can use those as polling places for votes. And if they run out of room and it's a bad day, people will at least be inside.
Yeah, that's true too. So that's a good question. Here you go. Do you think they will hold online classes for those who are studying at pre-college? I don't know, but I know that a lot of schools, Sonia, have announced that they are going to have in-person schooling. Like Notre Dame has already announced that they are having in-person classes. They want to clamp down on sort of travel outside of the dorms, but that they basically want to keep sort of everyone there in what is that town? I'm sorry, where Pete Buttigieg is mayor there in Indiana. That's where anyway. There. Yeah. Anyway, there are going to be a lot of places that have classes. They have already announced. I believe. I'm not sure if I'm trying to remember if Oxford has announced that they will have classes, or I think they will also have classes there. So I don't remember. Would the Met consider performances outdoors, like the airing of live HD? What do you think, Stephen? From our buddy, from friend to the show, By the way, it's South Bend, Indiana, where Mayor Pete Buttigieg is. Thank you, Jess. John Roy, friends of the show, our good buddy.
Yeah.
They would have performances outside.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they have considered it. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the fall you don't see more stream performances, maybe in movie theaters if they're open. It's easier to get together than a production. I don't think they would put it past there. Back to the question with pre-college classes and online universities, I'm going to say something very controversial right now. And I don't believe in online lessons for vocalists. I don't believe in it. I thought about it myself. I thought about trying it. And I think, look, I feel like when you're paying...
That's how I make a living. Thank you.
No. Look. I feel like when you're paying...
I do want to hear your thoughts. Some of your thoughts.
I feel like when you're paying tens of thousands of dollars to go to school, you're not getting the most for your money. I feel also new students that are entering that college, it's harder for them to establish a rapport with their teacher, and it'll probably also be harder for a teacher to understand the voices of new students just hearing them over the computer.
That's true.
It works.
So are you speaking specifically with college?
Yeah, I think people that have been with a teacher for a long time, it can be beneficial because you know the mistakes that those artists usually or those singers usually make. Yeah. You can outline their flaws, you know where to look. But I feel like when you're meeting someone for the first time, it's an unfair assessment.
Yes. I agree. And I'll tell you, my teacher who's here in the chat, Mr. Mark Oswald, has taught me via Skype a couple times. In fact, we've even had email lessons, right, where I describe to him the problem, but I've been with him for, ready for this one, Mark? I've been with you now, what is this, 2020? 14 years. So if I tell him what problem I'm having, he knows exactly what I'm going through.
But your first lesson wasn't via email or Skype.
No, it wasn't. It was definitely in person, and I was very nervous about it, I might add.
Absolutely. So you can't hear a voice for the first time via the internet.
I agree.
It doesn't work.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. Hi, Belinda. I agree 100%. I definitely.
Belinda, how are you? Hope you and Mark are okay.
Yes. They also live in proximity to me. I won't reveal where, but they also live in proximity to me. Yes, that was not by design, by the way. Despite what people think, because of my attachment to my teacher, I did not specifically design myself to live close to my teacher. It just kind of worked out that way.
So do we have more questions?
No, we don't. We don't as of right now. But that's all right. That's all right. We've been going for over an hour, though. I don't know if you realize that.
I know we had a lot to say today, didn't we?
Yes, we did have a lot to say today, which is good. Do we have any ideas about our next show? Do we know who we're going to get?
Maybe not.
Maybe.
I haven't really. It's been a long week, so I haven't really.
Right, so we've had more important things, to worry about.
Yeah, and I think the people that we can bring on have a lot more important things right now to think about as well.
I agree. I certainly agree.
So I think I can tell you what I think between this show and the next show, I think everybody that is out there should do a little soul searching in themselves and figure out what they want our future to look like.
Yes,
they should figure out where they want us to be. And I don't want to say in 10 years. I want to say in 2 years, where they want us to be. Because if we give ourselves a goal of 10 years, we take our longer time. If we give ourselves a goal of 2 years, we try harder.
I just wanted to answer one question here, and that was the question was, does Bruce, my dog, like Central Park Karen's dog? Yeah, he likes him okay. He likes him okay. But generally, we try to avoid her.
Yeah, but Bruce is a golden retriever, so
right. But there are plenty of dogs he doesn't like. Let me tell you.
Forget about it. I was going to go somewhere with that, but it's not funny because she's an asshole.
All right, Steven. Do you want to close us out here, buddy?
Yeah, I think we should. Sure. Everyone, stay safe, and thanks for joining in today. We'll be back with another show next Monday, 5:30. And like I said, stay safe. Stay friendly and do soul searching in the next couple of weeks and figure out how to make yourselves better people.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks everyone for coming. We'll see you next week.